Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to this new episode or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. It's something, a live streaming, something that I decided to do on the fly yesterday night because I couldn't sleep. So I decided to go on and let's do a live streaming to chat a little bit, show you a couple of updates and talk about some tech news that I wanted to talk about because we had a bunch of very interesting updates and news in the past weeks and I wanted to share with you. This is not really like a podcast episode or anything special. I'm gonna restart my podcast with Chris Perko probably from next week. This one was literally something that I decided to do on the fly and I don't know how it's gonna go, but let me switch to my beautiful face. There you go. Hello everyone. So I got my chat here, I got my screen with everything. Before starting, a little sip of coffee because this section I decided to call it yesterday Coffee and Tech, which I don't know if it makes sense. But yeah, so Danny asked, is it audio only? This is no, it's not audio only. I'm right here, so I'm just showing my face in this moment just to get a nice sip of coffee. It's actually just not straight coffee. It's cappuccino with oat milk because, you know, we're fancy hipsters, but let me take a sip of it. Delicious. Hello everyone. Hello. Hey Chris, how's it going, man? As I was saying, this is not this is gonna be like kind of similar to a podcast episode, but it's not a podcast episode because I decided to do this because I wanted to test my setup. So I still have my Logitech camera and I'm using a plugin. No, actually, I'm not using a plugin. I'm using a built-in editing system like settings and chroma key and brightness and saturation and all this kind of good stuff to control the Logitech camera from within OBS. So before I couldn't have a full 1080p resolution with the Logitech camera. It's a Logitech C920. It's very like 7 years old or something. I couldn't have a full 1080p. So if I was trying to have full 1080p, it was like really choppy and not fluid. But now with the new updates of OBS, everything works great. I was able to have full 30 frames per second, 1080p. I changed the brightness and the contrast and the resolution. So this should be good. I wanted to test this, how it handles a full live streaming with this, because up until now, I couldn't really do it. Hello, everyone. So as usual, I'm gonna just go on with my blabbling and chatting and talking about nonsense. And then at the end, I'm gonna read your comments and questions from the chat just to not interrupt the flow. I already have some questions that I asked yesterday night on social media. Just ask me anything. Just send me your comments, question. I'm gonna answer them at the end of this episode. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Another thing that I was trying to do, I actually purchased this little thing. This is the Nix capture card, which has a USB 3 with a USB Type-C cable that goes into the computer. And here you can plug your HDMI output from a camera or from a camcorder. And I was trying to use my camcorder. I have a Sony Vixia something. It's a very cheap camcorder, like less than $200 or something. I plugged in with the HDMI and it was working perfectly. The problem is that the output doesn't really match what I see on OBS, so I did a lot of color correction, white balance and saturation and exposure on the camera itself, but then the signal coming into OBS was completely different. It was very dark and dimmed and desaturated. The hue was completely strange. So I tried to edit those settings in OBS, but I couldn't really figure it out. So I reverted back to my Logitech, but I'm going to use the other camera from some other type of live streamings and session. And I actually am using that camera for my Dungeons and Dragons sessions, which I'm going to talk about later. But yes, how's everybody doing with this crazy thing that is going on? One little disclaimer, I'm not going to talk about the virus, the pandemic, or what you have to do at home, or all these other like very sad things, because couple of reasons. First, I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about this virus. I'm reading things online like everyone else, so I'm not giving any advice because I don't know. No one knows. So just listen to scientists because they study these things. So don't listen to influencers or YouTube people telling you what things are. Like, no, we don't know anything. We just read things online. So I'm not going to talk about those. And also, I'm not gonna talk about it because I feel like everyone is talking about it. And that's the topic. Like I was walking the other day and I listened to 5-6 different podcasts that I like, and I like to listen to them while I walk my dog. And all the topics went through the window, like that they went to shit. Like no one is talking about anything else other than this fucking virus. So I'm not gonna talk about this. Let's jump right into it. So let me switch. Actually, a couple of updates regarding myself. I've been working a lot on Akira, and it's very close to being released in an alpha stage. There are some quirks and things that I'm trying to figure out. Also, I asked the question on social media to help if someone is an expert with bindings and math to help me to figure out, but it's getting very close to an alpha release. And an alpha release is something that is not ready for production. It's very buggy, it's very laggy, it's missing a lot of features. So we're releasing it for the main purpose of testing first everything. Since this is a very complex application, we need as much feedback as possible from a lot of users. That's why we're releasing an alpha. That's why all our coding development process is completely open source. We share ideas and information. We share everything, and because we need user feedback. We don't want to reach the point where we have a fully functional first version that has 1 million lines of code. Then we release it and we find out that users don't like it, it's hard to use it, or there's a fundamental architectural bug that we didn't figure out because we were just 3 people using it, testing it, and it was fine for us. So we want to push it out as soon as possible just to have as many feedback as possible. But of course, we cannot push it out if it doesn't have at least some basic features, which like you can save your file, you can export your file, you can import some images. So we're nailing down all these little things, and it's going to be very, very ready to use. On the channel, I have upcoming tutorials. I have 2 new Gutenberg tutorials and then 2 new Vala tutorials. We're going to progress with our Gutenberg block and our the little Jarvis to-do list application. And actually, I decided with the Jarvis application, I'm going to show you after that how to publish it on Elementary OS, how to package it for a snap, as a snap application, a snap package, and a Flatpak package. So I'm going to do the full shenanigans on how to release your application pretty much everywhere except as an app image, because I don't know anything about app images. But if you want to do that, like you can be as a guest and show us how to do it. Another thing, I've been super busy. Actually, let me read something. Hello, hey everyone. Hello, you're awesome. You explain things out. Thank you very much. Ivan Matish say, I got a job as WordPress developer and I'm a beginner in that. So I learn on the fly and doing real projects. It's stressful on beginning, but your videos get me boost learning. I'm so happy for you, Ivan. You're doing an amazing job. Congratulations. It's going to be awesome. It's stressful for everyone at the beginning, but it's going to be awesome. Just give it already in 2-3 weeks. You're going to look back at yourself 3 weeks ago and say, oh, I know 10 times more than I used to know 3 weeks ago. So it's going to be so cool. Lawrence is here, which is awesome. Lawrence asked me a lot of questions. Lawrence, #1 fan of this channel. Everyone gives a round of applause to Lawrence because he's one of the few guys that makes me go on. He's awesome. His support is incredible. Akira looks ready. Yes, Lawrence. Wink, wink. Yeah. Okay. Another little announcement. My work at Thunderbird is going great. It's very stressful. Not because it's stressful. Like Thunderbird, you have to understand that Thunderbird is a monolith. It's something that has been going on, has been around for decades, and the source code, sometimes you end up and you stumble upon bugs that are like 13, 14 years old, and you have to fix those things, and the source code is not the best, and you're trying to refactor by introducing new things, but at the same time you have to support old things, but at the same time you have to fix the old things that are broken. So sometimes there are weeks, literally weeks, which I have 0 patches that they land on the source code. There are some weeks that I land like 2 or 3 patches per day, that I fix something, gets approved, and it lands on the source code, and which is fantastic. But there are some weeks which I work on 1-2 things only, and it's a drag, and it's like, push the code, reviewed, no, it gets a negative review because there are some issues. So find the architectural issues, fix that, but you fix things in a way and you break other stuff, and then you have to update the test, and then the approach doesn't really work the way you want it to work. So all of these to say that the last couple of weeks, that's how I felt. I felt like I was going nowhere, and I felt it was very stressful and very hard to continue. So hopefully next week is gonna be better, but it's part of the experience. But I want to also do on the channel some showcases, some updates. Like I want to show you what we're working on Thunderbird on version 78, all the improvements, and what's going to happen and what's going to come in the next major release of Thunderbird. There should be around the end of summer. I don't know. But let me switch my beautiful screen here to this, because we're going to talk about some very cool tech news that happens. The first one, of course, is the release of Ubuntu 20.04, the new LTS. Yeah, I don't need to read question. Another sip of coffee. By the way, this coffee mug that I want to show you here, it's from Gene. Gene, it's a very small coffee shop that it's down like very close to my apartment, and they make the best coffees ever. Like the cappuccino that they make, it's phenomenal. They have this breakfast burrito, which is, oh my god, I can't wait for them to reopen it. I'm gonna have breakfast there 3 times a day, every day for the next month, so they can get all the money back, and it's gonna be awesome. But yes, let me drink another sip of coffee. Okay, let's talk about some tech news. First is the release of Ubuntu 20.04. Ubuntu 20.04 is the next LTS, and of course, I'm a couple of days late. It was released on April 23rd, but this next release, it's amazing. It's massively improves massively the performance thanks to the new introduction of the kernel. The kernel, like Linux kernel 5.4, almost reduces the boot time, the availability of SSH access, the login, all these stuff, they were massively improved in performance. So I wouldn't say twice as fast as the previous version of the Linux kernel, but it had, like, the delta increased a lot. Actually, the delta decreased a lot. That should be what to say. This release, it's massively important also because there are a lot of flavors of Ubuntu that relies on the Ubuntu code base. So we have all our KDE variation, the Linux Mint, Elementary OS, all these distributions and these forks will inherit all the goodness of Ubuntu 20.04 alongside all our servers. So if you're using like DigitalOcean or AWS no, because it has a slightly different proprietary version of Linux, but you can also install Ubuntu. If you're using SkySilk, you're gonna have this new Ubuntu 20.04 available for your server. It's gonna improve a lot of beautiful things. There's the press release here, which is, it's kind of funny because it's basically comments from a lot of different people that were excited to partner with Canonical. We're going to have better things, blah, 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 blah. There's like, it's, you know, those articles that they say a lot without saying much, but it's an interesting read. So you should definitely check it out. It's on the official Ubuntu blog. You can check it there. Another interesting addition to the Ubuntu 20.04 is the built-in VPN called WireGuard, which is a trademark from a guy, I don't remember, it's written Donfeld, yeah, Jason Donfeld, I think, the creator of WireGuard, was integrated into Ubuntu, which is great because one of the lacks of the Linux application, of the Linux operating system, is setting up a VPN in an easy way. There are some distros that ship built-in VPN, but it's always, oh, download the keys and import the keys and manually set up your VPN endpoints and all this kind of stuff. If it was more automatic, it would be better. I'm looking forward to test this WireGuard. I don't know if it's gonna be better, but let's hope so. Ubuntu 24 will be also available as a Windows subsystem for Linux. So in Windows 10, you can have a full 2004 experience on Ubuntu. Why would you do that? Just use Ubuntu, whatever. And there are a lot of new snaps and a lot of good things. And there are some very good conversation with NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is saying that they're improving their CUDA software stack by integrating better with Ubuntu. It's kind of strange. Like the NVIDIA drivers are always like the worst thing ever in the Linux ecosystem. So the fact that especially the CUDA drivers, the CUDA and the Quadro are just like a nightmare to make them work. The open source version is not very good. The proprietary version has a lot of issues. It causes a lot of glitches and flickering, but they say they're improving that from the AI point of view, like the AI powered insights for their data faster. Like, okay, just make it better for consumers and maybe it's gonna be good. But then if we continue, there are some related options, like what's new in the Ubuntu desktop. Of course, they updated the interface, the theme. They updated the Yaru theme stack. They have this new variation of 3 different states of the window theme, like a light state, which it removes completely the dark banner top of the header bar, the standard, which is what you're looking at, and then a complete dark mode. And also they introduced by default fractional scaling that you can enable. What is it? Show me the fractional scaling. No, they're not showing it here. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's down there somewhere. Yeah, fractional scaling, which it's good and bad at the same thing, because fractional scaling shouldn't be a thing. Like you cannot have a 1.5 pixel. If you have 1 pixel, you can make it double up, or make it like you can double it, or that's it. So 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 4 pixel. If you have 1 pixel, 1.5 pixels, when you fractional scale that pixel to make it fit better in your screen, it's gonna look very weird. The problem is that the majority of the available screens, that commercial screens that in 4K, they don't have a proper pixel resolution. And I'm actually gonna use this. DP is an application for Elementary OS that Cassidy James created, the UX architect of Elementary OS, and here you can actually check how your screen resolution in compared to your screen size matches in terms of DPI, that dot per inches. So if we say that, for example, I have a 27 inches display with a resolution of, I don't remember, let me check my resolution. Display, I'm at 3840 by 2160. 3840 by 2160, 3840 by 2160, 3840 by 2160. Okay, so you can see this software is recognized as, this is slightly problematic, because if I double up this pixel, this is not gonna be a full on a proper DPI, a proper resolution, because the text is gonna be so blown out and all the icons are gonna be immensely big, because I don't have enough resolution to double up. But I cannot leave it even here, like in this status, because in this state, because the text is too small, because there's too much pixel density, but not enough to scale it double. But there's too much pixel density to to have a text that is the proper size. So the solution that I'm actually using is I have a normal full resolution and I'm scaling up the text, but this causes some problems, a lot of applications that look weird. It's not properly DPI. A proper DPI screen should be 5120 by 2880. This is a perfect high DPI. This is considered a 5K display, not a 4K. A 5K display because you can double up. You can see here, there's the explanation. You can double it up. And if you double up the resolution of your scaling monitor, you're going to have a full high DPI display at 2560 by 1440 that it's double the pixel size. So everything is going to look properly sized but super sharp because you're using the double pixel to render everything. So that's the proper resolution. But the majority of the commercial screens, they have the same resolution that I have, so they don't quite work at double the size. That's why they're introducing fractional scaling. That I don't know how it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna also get transitioned to elementary OS, but some things might look weird. And then we have some other improvements to the icon theme. They show the OEM, the manufacturer logo on startup, which is gonna be very good as a selling point, and they're tidying their partnership with Dell and Lenovo and all the other good stuff. So it's a good thing. I'm very excited for the future of Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is, if I'm not wrong, Mark Shadowar, the creator, the owner of Ubuntu, said that Ubuntu is now financially independent. They literally make money by themselves, which is pretty great. Next thing, and this is a news that is very close to my heart, because when I started coding Akira, a lot of people had a pretty substantial backlash related to the stack. I decided to use the GTK toolkit. The GTK toolkit is what builds the GNOME desktop environment. GNOME relies on GTK widgets, and that's the particular aspect of GTK. There's another toolkit, an open source toolkit out there called Qt, which the KDE desktop, Krita, KDE Live, all these pretty big applications, they use the Qt toolkit. The Qt toolkit is basically a C++ wrapper that has some UI helpers. It's a very simplistic way to explain what Qt is, but it's similar to GTK, but it uses a different UI and different environment. And a lot of people, when I decided with Akira, no, I'm going to actually use the GTK toolkit because of the native bindings, because how well works on the Ubuntu environment, on elementary OS. I had a pretty interesting, cute, Danny says it's pronounced cute. I say QT, but whatever, cute. And a pretty substantial backlash of people saying, oh no, GTK is trash, it's garbage, Qt is better, it's more powerful, it's open source, it's all good. But my main concern about Qt, first, the code of Qt is not super clean. Like, it's not as clean as what I can write in Vala and GTK. GTK has some native bindings of pretty much for Vala, so the matching, and I wanted to use Vala as a coding language. I didn't want to write C++ because it's very verbose. I'm not good at this. I don't like it. I prefer Vala. I'm more comfortable. It was easier for me to learn, so I decided to go with Vala and GTK. And also the other concern with Qt is that, yes, it's an open source program, like it's an open source toolkit, but it's not really open source. The source code actually is proprietary, and there's a license that you can use. The Qt company, they enable open source project to use the license for free as far as their product remains open source. As far as the final product, like as far as KDE or Krita or KDE Live, they remain open source. So you cannot create proprietary products with open source license of Qt, which is okay, but it's kind of a hybrid. It's not really fully open source and it's not really fully commercial. It's kind of like in between. And because it's owned by not an open source company, I was kind of like on the fence and never liked it, so I stayed away. And now they release on January, but I'm super late at this, they released this statement saying that two major things. First of all, now to do anything with Qt, you need a Qt account. So you need to sign up to their system, and in order to download everything. You need to basically share your information. It's just like they're stating that in order to allow contributors and users to be more active in contributing and improving and giving feedback to the Qt ecosystem, an account is necessary. So they're forcing users to create an account just to be able to install Qt and to use Qt on their machines, which is first red flag. Blah blah blah, data hoarding, data gathering. They just want data. I don't believe the bullshit that they want to do that. The other thing is that LTS and offline installers will become commercial only. So where is the statement here? There you go. Starting with Qt 5.15, the next long-term release, long-term support release, will only be available to commercial customers. This means open source user will receive patch level releases of 5.15, not the full release, just patch level, until the next minor release will become available. This means that we will handle, this is bullshit. So basically what they're doing, they're not gonna give the full LTS release to open source projects unless you buy a license, which by the way is the cheapest license. It's $500. Whatever. And the other thing that you're gonna get just small patches, just small security patches. This is terrible because you're not gonna get a full patch release until the next minor release. So not even the major release. So if, for example, version 6 is the next major release, you're not gonna get, if version 6 is out, you're gonna get 5.15. No, you're just gonna have another minor release. And this is terrible for open source project because their code is going to be exposed to vulnerabilities that are known and to lack of improvements that will land in the next long-term support release. And this is why you don't trust commercial companies to hold your open source code. But the funny thing is that this announcement is not a new thing. It's something that Qt tried. In fact, this article is the best. Qt tried 2015, 5 years ago. They tried to do the same. The idea behind this isn't new. In fact, it was already tried in 2015. Back then, negative feedback saw the Qt company backpedal and make having an account optional for open source downloads in order to ease concern and continue with your trust. It's unbelievably stupid and terrible for an open source project to shut down full support for open source related projects that they use your toolkit, put it behind a paywall, which costs around minimum is $500 a year. And this $500 a year also is not the basic price. You need to be eligible to do that. So you need to be a small startup that doesn't make enough money. So you need to basically ask them permission. Hey, can I pay less because I'm small? Which is like total bullshit. So it makes me really sad, but also makes me a little bit happy because I knew I did the right choice. I made the right choice in not going with Qt because I never trust this shit. So sorry. By the way, this is not a PG-13 blog, but it's okay. Anyway, continuing on, a more interesting and happy news. Let's talk about System 76. System 76 released a bunch of new updates to their line of laptops and desktops. First of all, they released the Lemur Pro. The Lemur Pro looks like a super cool Lenovo X1 Carbon or ThinkPad. Those super flat. Look at the screen, how it flattens. It's amazing. And they address basically the major concern that everyone had with their laptops, which is battery life. One of like the best slick looking laptop, which I did a review also, was the Galago Pro. But the Galago Pro has a very tiny small battery because you can put 2 hard drive in it, 2 SSDs. So the tiny battery basically was like it defeats the purpose of a laptop. A laptop, especially this small, this thin, this light, should be portable. You should be able to work around at a coffee shop. But if your battery lasts for a couple of hours, 3 hours, especially during intense work, full brightness, it's kind of useless. You always have to be plugged in, and it's not a good return of your money. But in this case, this laptop has a beast 14 hours battery life per charge with, where are the spec? A 65 watt battery, which is phenomenal. Oh, sorry, no, that's the charger. 730 watt per hour ion battery, which is, it's amazing. It's beautiful. And I read reviews and I saw comments from users that they actually bought this, and the battery lasts for more than 10 hours. You can watch a movie. They say in their press release you can watch all the trilogy, the Lord of the Ring trilogy, and still have battery life, which is kind of phenomenal. I was very tempted to buy these, especially like I love the thin bezels. I have my Gazelle Pro, which is 3 years old, but has some super thick, motherfucking thick bezels. But this looks pretty slick, and I was tempted to buy it because I needed a little bit lighter of a laptop to use. But then all the coffee shops are closed. I cannot go out to work, so I decided to not buy it. But upon investigation, there's something that it concerns me a little bit. Is the fact that 8 gigs, the memory, the RAMs, you cannot upgrade it. You cannot always support dual channel because 8 gigs by default are soldered in your motherboard. That's not their fault. I think that's the way the laptop was engineered to be that slim. So one slot of DDR4 memory, one slot of RAM, it's soldered, the 8 gigs. You cannot upgrade that. That's why these weird numbers, 16, 8 and 8, 24, 8 plus 16, or 40 gigs of RAM, 8 plus 32. This is not a big deal, especially in modern computers, but there's a thing called dual channel. Dual channel is basically when you have the same amount of memory of RAM, same amount of sticks in both slots available. Those 2 sticks, the computer recognizes these as dual channel, so recognize those 2 sticks as one entire entity. So 8 plus 8 is 16. The computer doesn't recognize it as, oh, you have 2 slots of 8 gigs each. No, the computer recognizes as one 16 gig slot. So it uses like entirely on boot, on startup, and it's faster and it's better performance. I sent a question to the support of System76, which by the way is the best support ever out there, and they say that unfortunately if you don't have the same amount of memory in both slots, you're not going to have dual channel, so the performance might be a little like tiny slower. But it's not a big deal, but it's still, solder parts are not my favorite, because if your solder RAM breaks, you have to send your computer back and they have to replace or unsolder or replace the entire motherboard. I don't know. You cannot replace it by yourself, which kind of defeats the purpose of the modularity of the objective of a System76 to be to release hardware that is serviceable for the user and the user can do anything with it. So that's a small tiny bit of concern, but other than that, it's a massive. It's like the 10th generation Intel CPU, which is phenomenal, and it's a beast of a computer. So let's see. System76 has also started prototyping their laptops. So I'm waiting for them to actually release their chassis and their custom cases. But staying on System76, they also release an update to their Thelio line, which means that you can now switch the PCIe slot to version 4. So you have an update to the PCIe, which is the banks. Actually, let me read the description here. PCIe stands for Peripheral Component Interconnect Express. Basically, are those slots in the motherboard when you add a graphics card or other external, like a USB hub or something that you plug directly in the motherboard. Those are PCIe slots. PCIe 4 literally doubles up the performance. Look at that. PCIe 3 has a bandwidth of 32 gigabytes per second of data transfer. PCIe 4 has 64 gigabytes per second, which is mind-blowing. So the new Thelio line, you can upgrade to the AMD Ryzen CPU with PCIe 4, which is phenomenal. I'm very tempted to buy it. I have a desktop which is 2-3 years old. I have 8700 i7 CPU, which is 4 cores, 8 threads, and it's okay. But to compile the source code of Firefox, which I use because Firefox is like Thunderbird, it's based on Firefox. I need to compile the source code. It takes almost half an hour, especially after I do a clobber. So after I clean everything and I compile the new code, it takes half an hour. With a Ryzen CPU, it would take around 10 minutes. So a massive boost of performance and productivity for me. But still, like, my desktop is still good. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait another year or two. And after that, I'm going to replace my desktop. I'm going to use this, format it, install just Steam, and use it as a HTPC, like home theater PC, just to play games. And then I'm going to buy a Thelio with a Ryzen CPU and be a monster, which is so good. This is a really interesting article about PCIe 4 performance, which I was very interested in reading. Another interesting news, actually, let me get a sip of coffee while you read the headline of this. Done. Another interesting news is that Lenovo is gonna start releasing laptops with Fedora pre-installed in it. No more Windows shenanigans, just Fedora. And the line that is gonna start releasing or is gonna start having these OS as a choice is the ThinkPad P1 Generation 2, which is amazing computer, the ThinkPad P53, and the ThinkPad X1 Generation 8, which is our professional workstation and personal laptop, like business and home laptops. And the fact that ships with Fedora pre-install, it's an amazing achievement, because if I'm not wrong, up until now, Lenovo never shipped a computer with Linux distribution pre-installed. If I'm not wrong, it always was Dell with the Ubuntu spin, like the XPS Developer Edition, but Lenovo, I'm not sure it does. Another interesting thing is that with this, let me ban this user. To remove. Oh no. There's a user that, hello sir, hello sir, hello sir, hello. Shut up or I'm gonna ban you. Please, please. Stop commenting on the chat. This is very annoying. What I was saying is with Fedora, like Lenovo laptops, like ThinkPads, it's kind of like common knowledge that they all work properly with Ubuntu or whatever Linux distribution you can install, Arch or Manjaro, whatever, and they kind of work. But there are also those small edge cases that are kind of like weird, like the fingerprint reader is not super great. The webcam sometimes glitches, that especially the hardware, if they pick as particular hardware for the Wi-Fi adapter, that creates a lot of problem. I think the Intel one is pretty safe, but the killer, there was the Killer Switch, I don't remember the brand, but there's a brand of Wi-Fi adapters that Dell uses sometimes. Lenovo had it for a while. They're not totally compatible with Linux. So the fact that they're shipping Fedora out of the box, it means that they're gonna take care of all the quirks of all those, the fingerprint reader, all those small things that don't fully work with Linux out of the box, which I'm super excited about it. And yeah, another thing that I would love to see is they strip away those extra $100 for the Windows 10 license, which is kind of bullshit. So let's let's make them $100 cheap, and I will consider. But it's amazing the fact that Fedora was able to struck a deal with Lenovo. It's mind-blowing, because I don't know you, but pretty much all the developers that use old laptops, they are on ThinkPads, and they buy refurbished old ThinkPads to install their Linux distribution because they work great out of the box. All right. There's a lot of interesting people here. This is annoying. Whatever. It's Sunday evening, probably around the world, so people are drunk. So, what do you think about these? This is great. Like, Dell and Lenovo are on board now. I don't know, this HP, Asus, Acer, everyone else should all the other manufacturers should ship that available out of the box. There's one question from Jad. It said, didn't Lenovo get into hot water for having keyloggers on them? Yes, I remember that, but there's this statement here that says, if I'm not wrong, we are committed to working with and learning from open source community, fixing issues, part of the community, a major brand. I want to install them is to make a completed process. The Lenovo team has been working with folks. The best part about this is that we're not bending our the best part about this is that we're not bending our rules for them. Lenovo is following our existing trademark guidelines and respect our open source principles. That's right. These laptops ship with software exclusively from the official Fedora repos. So, of course, they can always install some core boot shenanigans or some proprietary EFI inside the CPU or in the motherboard. We cannot control that, but oh my god, it's a lot of hi user on this channel. Okay. Oh my god. The chat is going crazy because I'm sure like everyone is at home doing shit nothing. So they don't know what to do other than bother people. But luckily YouTube is pretty good. I'm banning users like never before. This is so funny. You guys, you should drink less coffee. I'm drinking more because it's morning. Then yeah, but this is exciting. Like I'm super happy for these news. I hope more OEM will release Linux variation of their software. As far as they remove this $100, I'm very keen on those $100 of Windows license because it's very, very annoying. Another thing, if you're a Elementary OS developer like me, Elementary OS released their new developer documentation on Gitbook, which is an extension of GitHub. So it's fully integrated with GitHub. You can update these with Markdown. You can update it from the Git repository, but it's good. The developer documentation of Elementary OS is one of the best, in my opinion. It's very clean, very easy to follow. It doesn't give anything for granted. It's easy to get started, so you can definitely check it out. And they have their Hello World app. They're updating how to integrate the build system and all the other good stuff. So I'm very happy for them. Very, very happy about this update. I wish they would extend a little bit by implementing how to use custom icons, how to do something a little bit more advanced. It's a little bit bare bone, but I think it should be like, I guess that's what it should stay. It's an introductory documentation to developing. It's not a full guideline. After that, you can switch to Valadoc and all this other good stuff, or you do switch my tutorial. So yeah, but yeah, check it out. It's super brand new. They updated, refreshed a bunch of things, and it's one of the best documentation out there. So Definitely great. And the last bit of news, which is not really a news, but it's a funny story that I read the other day and I found it. It's an article from 2018. So because of I love playing personally. Like, I don't know if you know, I love playing Dungeons and Dragons. I play both as a player, as a dungeon master. I have a group which we play a couple of times a week, pretty much every week, and it's phenomenal. It helps me to distract me. It's like everyone's happy there, and we're just like a bunch of nerds. And I found this article the other day, The Secret History of the Racy Module That Almost Ruined D&D, which is a beautiful story. And when you play Dungeons & Dragons for a long time, it's kind of like a slippery slope, especially if you have some players that are not used to the fact that you need to keep the game positive for everyone. Otherwise, you can play as a piece of shit, like as a murder hobo. So there are some DMs that they like to make their story gore with a lot of like brutality and racism because they want to make it real and edgy, but it removes the pleasure from the game. And there was this module that was written in 1981 called The Palace of the Silver Princess, and this article is just like so funny because it goes through the review process and everyone's like everyone hated this module because of the graphic violence, and it was just basically it was just a sexual wet dream of the writer of this module, and it was like, no, let's publish it. No, it's not. It's just like really, really funny, and I loved it. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's the end of the news here. Let's start reading some comments, and let's ignore the trolls. I had to kick out. I didn't kick out the other guy. He stopped, which is great. So you guys read your questions. Is Fedora part of Red Hat Foundation? Red Hat is Microsoft owned. Yes, Microsoft is owning everything. Microsoft is taking ownership of the entire open source ecosystem, which I don't know what to think about it. I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. I hope more companies will give us more options to buy computers with Linux. I hope that too. Oh, IBM bought Red Hat, not Microsoft. That's true. IBM bought it. So, Danny, good point. The elementary docs looks better. Just one issue. We're reading on mobile. Oh, Lawrence, reading on mobile. Yeah, I guess developer documentation is not really done for you to read on mobile. I guess you could use your cell phone while you're on computer, but if you're on your computer, use your computer. So probably, I think it's more of an issue of Gitbook that is not fully responsive. If Linux could get their Wi-Fi drivers working a bit better, that'd be so good. Yeah, I know. I'm still using Pop! OS. Thank you for introducing it to us. You're very welcome. Pop! OS, it's phenomenal. System 76 is doing amazing God work for the Linux community. Can we change Akira theme to Adwaita theme or another theme? And we need the same feature in Akira settings like Inkscape. What kind of question is that? Okay. Oh my God. I'm getting these type of questions pretty much every day. Let me be calm. Akira is a software that is not even in early releases, not even an alpha is out. We're still coding and figured out how the whole architecture will work. Asking for themes changes or having the same settings like Inkscape is very short-minded. A theme is just a skin. It's useless if the software is not perfectly working. So a theme can be changed even in 25 years. Working on changing the theme just so it matches perfectly your desktop environment is useless for us. It doesn't bring any benefit. It's just a waste of work. By packaging the application on Flatpak and Snap, we can implement other themes because of course, if a user loads Akira on Ubuntu, or loads it on KDE, or loads it on Manjaro, on Arch, or whatever other desktop environment, those are distributional desktop environment, but you got the point. Everyone will say, oh, it doesn't match my desktop environment. It doesn't match my icons. I want this to match this. I want this to match that. I want this to match my little blue light that I put after 25 hours of customization. These are useless things that if we start supporting all these different themes, we're going to just spend times encoding and supporting themes just to make it look pretty, but the app will not work properly. So the theme is not okay. It's the same thing of asking KDE or KDE Live. It's the same thing of asking KDE Live, oh, can we have KDE Live that looks like GTK? No, you can't, because it's built with a KDE toolkit, which is Qt, which is going to be terrible, but you cannot change that. You have to install the entire KDE desktop environment to do KDE Live, and you're going to have that type of thing. You can change the icons a little bit, but it's not great. Also, settings like Inkscape, what does it mean? Be more specific. The Inkscape settings are massive. You can have a million different settings in there. Once again, Akira is an alpha release. It's not even out yet. Inkscape has been around for 20 years. So the settings of Inkscape has been coded, has been implemented in a span of 20 years. Akira is still not even a thing yet. So, be more specific. I'm sorry. I need to apologize because I feel like very passionate. I'm very passionate about my project. And when unfortunately, I have a lot of users that they don't have the technical background to understand how difficult it is to build something like that. And they ask questions, oh, but why I want my icon to be green instead of gray? And I think it's very important that the icon should be green. It's just like, these are superficial things. Just if you want to help and contribute and you have some requests, just open a bug issue on GitHub and ask a specific question. What kind of settings you want from Inkscape? What kind of setting you're looking for? Like the ruler, the export type, like what kind of thing? And that's going to be absolutely important. But don't ask too generic questions, because generic questions, they don't help us. And it's it's just things like that. Sorry, I went on a tangent. Sorry, Ali. Sorry, it's my fault. Unfortunately, I'm not the person to solve that problem. Well, Alex can pronounce theme properly. Yes, Sheriff. I learned after 25 years living in the forest. I learned the difference between team and theme. Team and theme, like Microsoft Team and Adwaita theme. My English is so good. I deserve a sip of coffee. Christian said it properly. Akira is different from Inkscape. We're not going to have the same options because Akira is completely different. Danny, because Danny has to ruin everything. Sorry, Danny, don't be a party pooper. Just to be the devil's advocate, there's an Adwaita theme for KDE app. Yes, I know that. So that wasn't introduced on version 1 though. Do you remember the early days of KDE Live? I started using it, didn't have any theme, it didn't have any icons variation. It was just the full KDE desktop environment installed with the KDE Live or any other KDE app. They introduced like a theme variation on KDE apps later on, like after many, many years. So the fact that the thing that boils me a little bit that the users ask for icons customization or themes customization on an app that wasn't released yet, that hasn't been released yet. So it's kind of like, is it really useful? Is it really like worth it for us to work on theme support instead of just building the actual app? That's the thing. Thank you, Danny. You're the best. Islam says, just finished Sunset Theme and started watching plugin development tutorial. Yay! Welcome to the rabbit hole of object-oriented programming, Islam. I hope you enjoy it. Then we have some questions that pretty much Lawrence, you're always the greatest of them all, because you asked me 4 questions, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. But the first question is not from you. I'm sorry. The first question is a really old question that I don't remember who asked me. Just I saved it in the document. The first question is, why should we learn? It was underneath the video. Why should you use Gulp? Like, what should you use, Sass or less instead of regular CSS? And the question was, why should we learn Gulp if we can do the same by using Ruby? Different technologies for different purposes. That's the short answer. The long answer is Ruby. It's great if you're in the ecosystem of Ruby on Rails and you can just rely on that type of technology. But if you're doing an HTML, CSS, or a JavaScript application and you need to compile your code, it's more straightforward and easier. It's better integrated to use Gulp or NPM or Webpack. In this case, the Gulp video was a couple of years old, so now there's Webpack or Parcel or whatever other. These type of JavaScript-based compilers are more compatible with the type of technology that are like web technology. So there's nothing wrong with Ruby. If it works for you, that's great. It's based on what type of technology do you need. Other question. Then, still playing music, Alessandro? Yes, a little bit. I play it at home. I had a friend, he's a drummer, and we used to hang out a couple of times per month, like once every 2 weeks, and play in a music room doing some covers just for ourselves. But we're gonna start doing that again when we can go back to the music room. I always wanted to record, like I have a lot of recordings of my old band in Italian, which I'm not going to share with you because it's a secret. You're not going to hear my voice. You're not going to hear me singing ever again. But yeah. But I was looking to install some applications on Linux to record especially some custom music for my videos with guitar just to have fun. But all the DAW applications are not great, especially the open source ones. There's Ardour, which is one of the coolest, but I need a lot of time to learn it. I always use macOS software like Digital Performer or PreSonus Studio One or Pro Tools. Like, I'm very good with those, and there's nothing similar on Linux. So I'm kind of too old to learn another DAW. I don't really want to do that. So that's the thing. May I have the model of your chair? Looks nice. This is an IKEA chair. This is the cheapest IKEA chair. Like, the only reason why I bought this is because it has the headrest, so I don't strain my neck, and also I can go. It's locked now. I'm gonna unlock it. Boom. What's the PewDiePie video? But can you do this? It doesn't go flat, right? But yeah, no, it's fine. But yeah, this is pretty good chair. Can GTK4 improve a lot elementary apps in the future? Yes, sure. Elementary, it's fully based on GTK. So if GTK improves, alongside elementary is going to improve, and as well, progressively, elementary apps will improve. So absolutely. There are some very awesome improvements in GTK4, so it's going to be beneficial for everyone. Can you compare PHP, maybe Laravel, and Ruby on Rails and web perspective, performance, and development aspect? Yes. Laravel, especially... what's the creator? Oh no, I'm zoning out on the creator of Laravel, but whatever. Laravel was originally based, a lot of the ideas behind the architecture of the framework are based on Ruby on Rails. So in terms of development, the workflow, it's quite similar. I'm super comfortable with Laravel. For me, like, to me, that's way faster than Ruby on Rails, but just because I haven't used Ruby on Rails extensively, but they're definitely comparable, I think, in my opinion. Which one is handy, Composer or Elementor? Elementor. Never too old for nothing. Age is just a number. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have much time, so I need to be careful how much time I spend on doing other. Taylor Otwell. Yes, Taylor Otwell is the creator of Laravel. Thank you. why you choose Elementary OS instead of Ubuntu or any distro with GNOME DE? Because Elementary OS, it's based on LTS. What's happening? I hear some noise, sorry. First, Elementary OS is based on LTS, so I'm getting just properly standard supported releases of application. I'm not getting anything like beta or edge development or anything that might break, like an update that might break. It's just LTS, so it's super stable. The other thing about Elementary OS is that it's not customizable, which is phenomenal, which is, in my opinion, is one of the best and worst thing about Linux, because if you install something that you can fully customize, you're gonna pretty much spend every day at least a couple of hours per day customizing and tweaking your interface until it breaks, and then you brick it, you have to format it and reinstall everything because you break a lot of things. I have to work. I work with Elementary OS. I work on Linux full-time to develop my application, to develop Thunderbird. So I have a full-time job using Linux. I cannot spend time in customizing my desktop environment and risking to break it instead of working. So because I know myself, I know I'm a thinker. I know I want to touch everything. I want to change everything. And if I have the possibility to customize things, I will do it. I will spend so much time until I break things. So Elementary OS blocks me. I don't even install elementary tweaks. I get what it comes out of the box, and this is great. The other distributions, like even Ubuntu, in my opinion, it's not like it's meant to be customized. It's not like the experience out of the box, you can just use it and that's it. Instead, with Elementary OS, I can install it, open the App Store, install the Elementary OS apps that I need, and that's it. I have the terminal that it's fully customized. It's properly set the way I like it. I can install it and start working. I don't need to spend time customize it because everything is available out of the box. That's why I'm using Elementary OS. Do you think you will use some abstract classes or interface in the plugin series? That's one object-oriented principle still being a pain. Yes. I don't think I'm going to continue the plugin series, Lawrence. I think I'm going to start a more generic PHP series, or I'm going to continue the Laravel one. I'm going to show you how to create abstract classes or interfaces. By the way, the concept of abstract classes and interfaces is also pretty identical in Vala, which we're going to touch upon it because it's very important to know how to use those. So once you grasp the concept of those, you can apply them in PHP or any other object-oriented programming language. So change your ad with that Pikachu behind you. Looks awesome. Okay. You see my bold head? It's hard to keep here. Can I put this on? Yes! Okay, if you're not subscribed, because I did this, now you have to subscribe. That's mandatory. And if you know anyone else in your family, your friends that they have a YouTube channel, just subscribe, give it a like to this video, because I'm doing this for you. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, all these Elementary OS talk has got me excited to more Vala tutorial. Yay, Laravel will be good. Yes, okay, more questions by Lawrence. Do you feel you have a proper understanding of Vala? In your earlier streams of coding Akira and SQL, you felt inadequate. How do you rate yourself now? I still feel inadequate. I feel more comfortable, of course. I feel more confident, and I learned a lot, especially with Akira. It's a massive project that we're working a lot of things, but I feel that I'm not grasping completely all the aspects of Vala because it's a pretty extensive language that can do a lot of things. It's pretty good. So do I look very serious with this hat? So that's one thing about developers. It doesn't matter how expert you are. Like even Taylor Otwell, the creator of Laravel, said it the other day. He tweeted, this is one of the few days where I don't consider myself an amateur. Like, he tweeted something similar, but every developer has this feeling. Like, we all feel the same. We all feel inadequate. We all feel like, yeah, it could be good. So I'm better at Vala, but I'm not great. I still feel, yeah. Gutenberg, another question. Gutenberg versus page builders. I think Gutenberg is going to chew over 80% of their business and eventually take them out. How can they evolve to stay in business in your view? Could they make their own service as a software platform and leave the huge WordPress ecosystem? Will they chip away and the large following if they go? Okay, I think Gutenberg is going that direction because if I'm not wrong, Gutenberg is getting also implemented as a in the customizer view, so you can customize the sidebar and the header bar with Gutenberg blocks. So I think that's the direction that WordPress is going, using Gutenberg as a full page builder. I think the page builder currently, especially Elementor or the DVT theme, oops, I still slipped, the DV theme or what's the other one? Oxygen OS, which are fully integrated themes you install and you can customize the entire website, not just the content editor. They still have an advantage, and they're going to have an advantage for the next 2-3 years because they're more advanced than what Gutenberg can do right now. But I think my suggestion would be right now they should actually focus on integrating Gutenberg in their own and just using Gutenberg blocks to create these themes that they say this theme is fully compatible Gutenberg, and you can use Gutenberg block to customize everything. So improving the user experience and the user interface of what WordPress is gonna do, I think it's the way to go. Because if you make things simple without over-engineering everything, it might be an option. Going full standalone platform and not using WordPress, that's what Wix.com or Squarespace basically, they do, and it's not great. Because if you stay stuck with WordPress, with Squarespace or Wix, I guess it's okay. But if your business grows or your needs change, then you cannot transition what you have in your Squarespace website to a WordPress website, vice versa. Those are not compatible, and the source code generated by Squarespace is just trash. So it's not. I don't think it's gonna happen. Another question: what are the 3 biggest lessons you have learned while coding Akira? 3? Why not 1? 3 biggest lesson learned while coding Akira. The first one that I already knew is users will use your application in ways that you can never imagine. They can grab something that you specifically created for one purpose and use it for a completely different one and find new ways to break it, it's great. So expect the unexpected, basically. The second big lessons that I learned is accept the fact that you know that you don't know everything. Before starting Akira, a couple of years ago, almost starting thinking Akira, I was like, I know user experience, I know UI, I know what it's better for the user, I know what we can do, I know this, I know that. I was like, I can do this. And while working, I learned that a lot of people around me, they know better than me. So I started like rethinking or challenging my own convictions and just understanding that, yeah, I know stuff, but I know that I don't know a lot of things. So that's it. And the third biggest lesson is just I learned to surround myself with people that are smarter than me, that they know better than me. And at the beginning, I didn't really want to do it because this is my project. I want to have a sense of ownership. I want to keep it for me. And I need to decide everything. I need to manage everything. And we do the things that I say. But then with time and working and collaborating with people way smarter than me, you need to learn to let go and accept the fact they know better. And you need to accept their suggestions and need to adapt to what they say, if, of course, the thing that they say makes sense. And yeah, learn to Surround yourself with people smarter than you and accept that you're not that good. Last question. Microsoft takes over in open source. NPM is now with GitHub. What are your predictions? I don't know. I don't know what to expect. It's very strange. I'm sure like GitHub is improving, but I don't know. As far as the open source, it's still open source and available, and they're not gonna change the license of projects. I think it's good. It's just NPM at the end of the day is just a platform. So you as a owner of your NPM package, you can remove it there and put it into another personal repository or a custom repository. But I think there should be some laws against monopolies, because it's like Facebook bought Instagram, WhatsApp, and it buys everything, and then you have one single product and one single ownership of all the products. So now Microsoft bought GitHub, and then bought NPM, and then now it's gonna probably buy a Linux distribution, and then it's monopolies there. It's just controlling the market, which is not the best. More question. Subscribe, then press the bell icon. Thank you, Islam. Give us some insights about your channel. Any new series? No new series so far, because I'm very, very busy with Akira. I think I'm going to continue the Gutenberg series and the Vala series. Those are the two main things. And I'm going to try to do some other type of videos, like the video that I did about the continuous integration, continuous deployment, or deployment of a WordPress website, like I did with SkySilk and Bodyworks. I'm gonna do those standalone videos about generic things that I use every day, how to speed up your workflow, some dedicated apps, Linux open source apps to improve your work every day. It's just like these small standalone things. In terms of long-term series, let's see when I finish the Gutenberg and Vala series, and let's see, probably I'm gonna pick up back the Laravel tutorial to build something very awesome. Danny says, I'll be down for a more generic PHP series. I need to brush my knowledge on it. Okay, yeah, we can actually, with PHP we could build a small framework. So by building a framework in PHP is a great exercise to learn everything about object-oriented programming, abstract classes, and interfaces, and all the good stuff about PHP. I have to look up the most basic stuff daily, never changes. Yes, me too. Ali asks, are you using GNOME Builder? No, I'm not using GNOME Builder because I don't really like the interface. It's kind of like clunky for me, and I don't like the cursor management. Like, I'm very comfortable with Sublime Text or VS Code because of the multi-cursor implementation and the shortcuts that I can implement and customize, and all the packages that they come. Especially I use VS Code for Vala development and PHP development and JavaScript development and Thunderbird development, C++ and Mason. So I can change the work environment of all the extensions and plugins based on the project that I'm working on, and there's so much flexibility to it that GNOME Builder is still a little bit, it's an amazing IDE, but it's still not quite there yet. Danny, what's your thought on Drupal Gutenberg? Drupalberg, let's call it Drupalberg. Drupal, it's Drupal is I used Drupal up until version 8 or something. Never liked it. It's so clunky. The architecture of Drupal, it's like very old school. Also WordPress is an architecture that it's old school, but WordPress it's way easier to learn and implement. But yeah, no, never use. I don't think I will ever use Drupal. What's the user base of Drupal? I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I think we are at the end of this live streaming. We have 30 people currently viewing, 500 playbacks. That's pretty good. What do you guys think about the quality of the camera? I did some edits and it's, yeah, I think I'm happy. Okay, so let's close these little live streaming chat. I think I'm gonna do these once every couple of weeks, just so we can have a little conversation when we drinking coffee and talking about stupid things. I'm gonna try to find different hats and improve my hat collection, so I can surprise you with new beautiful things. But as usual, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, that helps a lot. We're almost at 80,000 subscribers, so can you help me reach the 100,000? Of course, with this stupid pandemic, I'm not gonna get the $100,000 button because they're not shipping anywhere. But if I get it, I'm gonna just put it right here. So at every live streaming, there's the button here just to show how awesome tutorial-based channel talking about open source with a silly bald guy talking about nonsense can be. So yeah, help me to reach the 100K. So close. But as usual, guys, thank you so much for participating to the live streaming. Thank you so much for all the questions. You guys are awesome. Ask me more questions. Just write me an email. Leave me a comment on social media. I'm going to gather all those questions. I'm going to answer on the next live streaming. And as usual, guys, stay safe, stay inside, happy coding, and be excellent to each other. Bye.